right, we ready for this? Good morning. Happy Thursday. Springfield's Morning News. I'm Greg Bishop on 92.7 WMAY. Live and local each and every weekday morning from 6 to 9. Greatly appreciate everyone taking time with us today. What we're getting into right now is what's going to happen in about 4 days for Illinois' gun ban, and that is April 10th, 90 days after the enactment of the Protect Illinois Communities Act from January 10th that Governor J.B. Pritzker signed. Says in the law that 90 days after that enactment, you've got a variety of things kicking in, including a prohibition on where you can carry certain types of magazines or where you can possess certain types of firearms. So the Protect Illinois Communities Act, also known as the assault weapons ban or just a gun and magazine ban, that's the 170-plus semi-automatic weapons that the governor and legislators defined as assault weapons, and that includes any kind of attachments and pistol grips and barrel sheaths and stuff like that. So you've got that enacted, and then 90 days later, you've got the law kicking in that will ultimately lead to criminal penalties if you are found in public with an unlawful device. And what would make that an unlawful device? A variety of different things. Where is it unlawful for you to possess these things? A variety of different places. Things that people need to know about. And I know there's a lot of questions still out there as to all of the legal implications here, considering the challenges in state and federal courts. Because you've got a state-level case out of Macon County that is now in front of the Illinois Supreme Court on appeal because the Macon County judge declared that the law violates the equal protections in a final judgment in Macon County. Now, that didn't specifically spell out a statewide injunction, but still there's some lack of clarity for some people as to if this is statewide or not. I know the Attorney General has said that it is still the law and that the state police have frequently asked questions portion on their page to spell out all of these particulars when it comes to enactment of this bill, including the 90-day provision, which kicks in April 10th, that says you cannot have these certain types of weapons that you are grandfathered to have. It's legal for you to have them, but you can't have them outside of private places with the owner's consent. So what does that mean? I connected with Todd Vandermyde, a longtime gun rights advocate here in the state of Illinois, and he spelled out really in some detail some of the provisions of the next phase of the gun ban and where you can have these things and where you can't have these things, but also substantial number of questions that are still out there as to how this is going to be enforced and what exactly is enforceable of this. So here is Todd Vandermyde sharing a few thoughts with me from yesterday in anticipation of that April 10th trigger kicking in when you've got a lot of different implications for gun owners, around 2.4 million gun owners in the state of Illinois.
90 days after the effective date of this act, you can only possess the guns, attachments, 50 caliber rifle or 50 caliber cartridge on private property owned by or controlled by you, on private property that is not open to the public. You know, there's a question here about while engaged in the legal use of an assault weapon attachment, 50 caliber rifle or 50 caliber cartridge at a properly licensed firing range or sport shooting competition venue, or, well, we don't license ranges in Illinois. Not that I need to give them any more crazy ideas, but it's just not the way it works. The gun club I'm on the board of directors of, what constitutes properly licensed? We have a special use permit from the county to do what we do, but there is no Illinois licensing of ranges. There's also a to and from requirement now in transporting. So you're covered traveling to or from the locations. And it's, you know, the question becomes, well, what if a prohibited gun is your carry gun? Like one of my Glocks has a threaded barrel. So it appears that you can't even carry that gun anymore. And remember, the magazine component talks about magazines that can be readily converted to. If it's a 10-round Glock magazine, those magazines with a removable base plate, you can add a +5, a +7, a +20, or even 30 round extension to those magazines. So since the language says can be readily converted to accept more than 15 rounds for a pistol, it's a problem. If we make it impossible for you to carry commonly used magazines with your carry gun, we kind of negate carry across the board. And police chiefs are political creatures, and if they put down from the from the hierarchy, you will enforce this. You come across somebody with a carry license, you will inspect their magazines and things like that. Then it's going to lead to a whole new level of probably litigation and interpretations about what lawful carry people have to do. But I think that this law not only makes a mess of the right to keep and bear arms in terms of what guns you can own, I think it makes a mess of the carry law we passed back in 2013. How is the average layman supposed to understand where they can or can't go? I mean, they've even got stuff in here that on the gun side, that if you're a non-resident, you're only supposed to be here for 24 hours. How does that work?
Again, Todd Vandermyde sharing some of his analysis of what kicks in April 10th for gun owners in the state of Illinois that may have in their possession certain semi-automatic weapons or certain magazines. And he says that even some of the standard magazines that are issued for standard handguns that are commonly held, he says you can remove the base plate on a lot of those magazines, which makes it a convertible magazine, which in the law says is a extended magazine, therefore illegal to have. So you can see the report I put together. If you follow me with Twitter, you can see it, of course, also by going to thecentersquare.com, where you can read more about this and even link to the Illinois State Police frequently asked questions. But there you'll see that even with those questions that are asked, still some things that you need to fully understand. In particular, Illinois State Police say that Illinoisans can legally possess the firearm on private property, owned or immediately controlled by the person on private property that is not open to the public with the express permission of the person who owns or immediately controls such property, while on premises of a licensed firearm dealer or gunsmith for lawful repair, at a licensed firing range or sports shooting competition venue, or while traveling to and from these locations. And that travel component includes what's previously been held. If you don't have a concealed carry license, you have to have the firearm in a closable container, unloaded and inaccessible. But even there, with the idea of only being allowed to have these on licensed firing ranges, Vandermyde points out that they don't have licensed firing ranges. They may have local permits, but we'll see if that holds true there. And then, again, you've got the issue of travel with the Illinois State Police saying any non-residents, that means people not living in Illinois, who transport within 24 hours, the law says, a weapon from where they may lawfully possess it to another place where they may lawfully possess it must ensure that the weapon's unloaded and neither the weapon nor any ammunition being transported is readily accessible or directly accessible in the passenger compartment during transports. If the vehicle doesn't have a compartment outside the driver's compartment, the weapon or ammunition shall be contained in a locked container other than the glove compartment or console. So what are the criminal penalties here? Well, violation of the magazine ban is a petty offense. And each magazine you have, if you're found by police to have this, if police are enforcing this locally, state police, of course, under Governor J.B. Pritzker's orders and by the law, they are going to enforce this. And this, again, kicks in April 10th. It's a petty offense for each magazine, a $1,000 fine. Unlawful possession of a banned firearm carries a Class 3 felony for the second offense. So interesting to see that possibly being implemented April 10th. And you've got another provision that's going to kick in October 1st, and that's Illinois State Police setting up that gun registry. So if you have those grandfathered semi-automatic weapons in your possession and you're not law enforcement, you're not retired law enforcement, you're not somebody else who works in the law enforcement or security sectors, then you're going to be required to file with state police what weapons you own. And that's all going to be through the FOID card process. Now, there's no registration fee, but that kicks in October 1st with the deadline of January 1st. Again, having possession of certain weapons outside of the law could carry a Class 3 felony. So those are some of the things kicking in. Of course, all of this is in flux because you've got the lawsuits that have been filed, and April 10th is when this next step of the ban on semi-automatic weapons and magazines kicks in, where it tells you where you can and cannot have these things, and whether or not you can be held criminally liable for having these things. You then have the registry kicking in October 1st through January 1st. But all this, again, while it's being implemented across the state, the challenges in the courts still continue. April 14th down, it was April 12th. You've got the case that's going to be heard in front of the Southern District of Illinois courts, where they just posted the latest kind of notice of sorts in preparation for the hearing, April 12th, down at the East St. Louis courts in the federal courts. They've got that hearing that's being set. So, what happens there? It could be a week. It could be 2 weeks when the judge may or may not issue a injunction against the law. So if that injunction kicks in, that would be statewide. That wouldn't just be for named plaintiffs. So we're going to be watching that very closely here on WMAY. I'm Greg Bishop. Thanks for hanging out each and every weekday morning.